Mangini, former head coach. How you doing?
I'm great.
He's your favorite guest. He's not even my favorite Mangini we've had on the show anymore.
It's a good point that we've had multiple Manginis. That being said,
his son stole the show last week.
Please tell your son he caused an uproar with my staff.
Yes, it's
Why
true.
so?
Oh, they're so jealous.
Yeah.
How did little Mangini get on?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
couldn't believe it.
Deontay wants to get on set.
Now they want to walk out and give us papers and
Yeah.
everything with nothing on it.
Yeah, they're like, why don't we have a producer cam if Mangini's kid can get on? He's the most talented of the lot, guys.
He is, and if you want to see, I don't know if you want him to follow you. I liked little Mangini's clip on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll
we
keep
talked
that
about
space limited.
Yeah, sorry about that. When I started the sentence, I didn't know where to go, so no choice but to finish the sentence.
Keep my 14-year-old out of the world if I can.
Coach, you're right. My apologies to you. That was
And Jenna
my
also
bad.
said if little Mangini slide into his DM, that's what he needs at 14.
That I did not say. All right, let's move on so fast now. The 3 steps to any NFL draft go like this. Step 1, mock draft the player. Step 2, draft the player. Step 3, have drafter's remorse and hope you made the right decision getting said player. It is the Monday after the draft, and we are up to Step 3. For the Giants, that means wondering if drafting Saquon Barkley and not a quarterback to replace Eli Manning was the best decision. There are big expectations on the former Penn State running back who will help try and help the Giants bounce back from a very disappointing season. Saquon says he's ready.
I think the face of the franchise is kind of how you take it, and I know that's been said about me, and that's been said about me in college with State College at college with Penn State, but I think it's kind of how you view it. I really never view myself as a face of the franchise. You know, when you have success, that tag comes along. That's how I kind of view it. The more success you have, the more attention, the more spotlight comes to your name, and they kind of tag you with that. But that's not something that I'm really looking forward to be. If that happens, God willing, I have a lot of success, and that comes to the territory, then so be it.
All right, Coach, let's talk about what the Giants need out of Saquon. He could do one of 2 things. He could come in the same way Ezekiel Elliott came into the Dallas Cowboys and have immediate impact minus the 6 games, and then eventually he had to leave. Or, you know, he could kind of come in slowly. But with Eli Manning where he is, you sort of are hoping that Saquon comes in and makes that immediate impact very quickly next season.
Yeah, and they didn't do him too many favors by setting the expectations so high and saying he's been touched by the hand of God. You know, I think that's a little bit tougher when you bring a player in with those type of accolades from the front office. But I like this pick, and I think it was the right decision. It didn't seem like they loved any of the young quarterbacks. To bring in Saquon, who is a great character guy, a player that seems humble. It's a nice counterbalance to some of the other personalities that they've had in New York, and I think that's the tone that they're trying to set. That's the direction they're trying to head. And now if he can have anywhere close to the production that Ezekiel had his first year, now 322 carries, 1,600 and some odd yards, 5.1 yards a carry, that's going to be hard to
1,000 yards on first down.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get there, but now that opens up so many things for Eli. Eli's really good off of play action, so if they have to deal with the running game, to me, this is a good pick for a lot of reasons. If the player is as close to as good as they feel he is.
Yeah, if we're going to compare him to the best backs, that being Ezekiel, that being L. Bell, and very, very familiar outside of L. Bell only going in the 2nd round, was that all of them did in the Big Ten. The thing that we knew about L. Bell and Ezekiel, though, we knew they can carry the ball 25, 30 times. Like, we knew they could carry the whole university. Like, we knew in given games. Saquon, we don't know that about him. Like, that's the one thing about Penn State. Great kid, great character. They said the cleanest prospect, potentially the best player in this year's draft. But when the weather changes, can he carry the ball 25, 30 times? We knew Zeke could do that. We saw him do that against Alabama and other players. At Penn State, they didn't ask him to do this. So that's something that we don't know. As Coach said, I love the expectations that they have for him within the franchise, and I love his overall demeanor. He talked about, I'm not going to be the face of the franchise, compared to typically people in this spot, when they ask him that question, they would just fall for it and be like, well, yes, I guess I am. He says, no, that comes with productivity. It doesn't come with a draft position. So I think he's going to be a star in the league. But the one thing he don't have that Zeke had, man, he don't have that offensive line with 3 Pro Bowlers. He don't have that type of offensive line. This is probably the biggest question mark on the Giants roster is their offensive line and who will be the pieces in front of him. So I believe he will be a great player. I believe he'll have a tremendous impact out of the backfield for their passing game immediately.
And you look at what they have done with the offensive line. They went out and got Nate Soldier. They drafted Will Hernandez in the second round. They signed a couple other free agent offensive linemen. So they're trying to address that. And if they do have Odell back and he's healthy, you've got a star on the outside who can put pressure on the passing game. And now you've got a guy like this who can put real pressure, home run pressure in the running game. And I think Eli can still play at a very high level, especially with compliments like that. So I agree with you, though, Chris. How well is he going to do with the cold weather? How well is he going to do going up inside where it's noisy, game in and game out, having to carry that load?
Well, and you mentioned 1,600 yards from Ezekiel Elliott his rookie season. That's a remarkable total. Like, we can't set that as a fair, he has to reach that standard. But I will say...
We can. When you're drafted number, to whom much is given, much is expected.
Sure. I think so let me tell you what I would set the standard at for him. What I would, I don't want to say projected, but what I would consider a really good start to his career. How about 1,500 yards from scrimmage? How about 1,500 combined receiving and rushing yards? Because I think he's going to be more of a receiving threat than Zeke was, where he's not going to be as much of a guarantee on 3rd and 2 to pick up the 3 yards you need. But I do think he's a guy who's going to take a few swing passes, a few halfback screens, and a guy that I can already see this play in my mind's eye, where you have Odell run a slant to try to sweep the defense to the left-hand side, and then he fills in that gap along the left-hand side against a linebacker. Like, I feel like we saw them try to do things like that at Penn State. Run the action away so he only has to beat one guy. That's where I think he's special. You're right. Too much is... He can't have 950 yards and say, oh, well, he's a rookie. Not when you're the number 2 pick. I understand that. I just don't think he's going to get his yards purely through the rushing game the way Zeke did.
One thing to look back on is look on Pat Sherman. He's the head coach. Look at what he did not only in Cleveland, but more important, what did he do last year with the Vikings? All right, the Vikings had questions at their quarterback. They had a promising rookie, Dalvin Cook, as a running back. Look how they utilized him. Look how they integrated him to the National Football League. Dalvin Cook, I would say, has a very similar skill set that Barkley has. Now, but Barkley's far more explosive and less question marks about him. So I think they will integrate him. I believe they will run him more between the tackles than he did at Penn State. So I'm looking forward to the transition, you know, from being a dominant running back in college football to being the lead runner for the New York Football Giants.
Coach, on Friday you talked about the I guess, football parity, if you will, among the top couple guys that go, because you don't really know at this point how they're going to do skill-wise. The most important thing is how they're going to handle the position they've been given. They've been anointed to a certain place on a team. Personality-wise, are they ready for the market? Are they ready to be the face of a team, especially in your first 5 positions? Saquon Barkley seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders, and New York is not an easy place to be. There's a ton of media. I mean, you sneeze, and they ask you 15 questions about it. Just talk to me a little bit about that transition and what that's like for him now over the course of the next couple weeks, months.
That's one of the reasons I like this pick so much is the human being that I've heard that he is. And a guy that I went to high school with was actually at Penn State and was part of recruiting him and couldn't say enough great things about this human being. And so when you come in with those expectations into a market like New York and you sit back and say, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can for this fan base, for this team, I'm going to sit back and learn, I'm going to do everything I can to make the Giants a winner, I think New Yorkers respect that. I think New Yorkers look at this person and say, okay, we are excited about cheering for you because of the things that you bring intangibly to
and he spent his whole career on the East Coast. He's born in New York, played at Penn State. Now, Penn State is not New York City, but he doesn't have the type of personality that I believe would drive him to the lights and the glamour of New York City like OBJ. Well, we didn't think that about OBJ either, coming from Louisiana until he got here either.
All right, Coach, stick around. We'll see you a little bit later in the show. Coming up, are the Golden State Warriors looking like runaway favorites in the West? Also runway favorites. They're both.
James Harden, that outfit belongs on a runway. And little Daisy Dukes he got on.